Hi guys, it's almost lunchtime. I hope you guys are hanging in there, still feeling okay, still feeling well alert. We're going to keep this interesting and exciting, I hope, Kaveri. So before I allow Kaveri to introduce herself, we just connected on Instagram while we were chatting there, and I realized that she's a bit of a creator herself, a few thousand followers on Instagram while having a private profile. So tell us more about yourself, Kaveri, and what do you do other than your thousands of followers on Instagram?
Yeah, and we figured that Ashik is half a creator because he has 1,133 followers. And please follow me so I can start to make some money in the creator economy as well. So I work for Mastercard. I was going to say I have the coolest job in the world, but I think Lynette has the coolest job in the world. And she's a very tough act to follow. So I take care of marketing and sponsorships for Asia Pacific. That's what I do. We are a B2B2C organization, which means that all the marketing that we do is, of course, to engage with our consumers, but to also create value for our partners. And when I say partners, it is banks, merchants, fintechs, etc., whom we work with in order to drive business and brand benefit.
Brilliant. So at WARC especially, Mastercard's always been a bit of a best in practice, best in class for a couple of things. Bit branding and whatnot. I mean, because a priceless platform is so cool, right? It's one that a lot of brands would love to emulate. So over the span of next 13 minutes, and time is ticking so quick, and every minute with you is precious. So it's priceless, should I say? So
he's a fast learner.
Let's quickly dive into what is Mastercard's core strategy with creators.
Before I talk about our core strategy with creators, let me talk about when we say Mastercard marketing, what is it that we really do? And fundamentally speaking, and I'm going to go back more than 25 years. So last year we celebrated 25 years of Priceless. And why did we create Priceless in the first place? It was a campaign, but it evolved into a platform or multiple platforms, and today it's the brand DNA. Because 26 years ago, we realized that experiences matter more than things, and it's feelings, it's memories, it's experiences that money cannot buy. So we create and curate these experiences across 11 passion points. We're talking travel, culinary, music, sport, e-sport, arts and culture, etc. And who better than creators to work with and create these experiences? Because guess what? They're already tapped into these passion points, and they already have audiences that follow them, love them, share their content. So if you go to prices.com, you will see that across multiple locations, we work with these creators, and I'll give you a few examples. So last year, we launched Prices India in partnership with the Ministry of Tourism, and the ministry essentially wanted us to showcase India beyond the Taj Mahal and beyond the elephants and snake charmers, because that's a cliche, stereotypical view of India. So what we did was, we said, we will go into the big cities of India that everyone knows about, but they know the cities for the glitz and glamour. We worked with art historians to really go into the lanes and bylanes of those cities. So in Delhi, an art historian, and they're all creators in their own right, they have the digital platforms and following as well. We did a walk with her through Chandni Chowk, and again, city streets, museums, steeped in culture, steeped in history, from the Mughal era, of Delhi. So that's the kind of work that we do with creators. There are health and wellness experts. There are yoga content creators doing yoga in front of the Taj Mahal or the Sydney Opera House for that matter. There is artisanal honey being made in Greece. So if you want to know how artisanal honey is made, please go to prices.com. Even if you don't want to know, please go to prices.com. It's fun. So that's one thing that we do with creators. The other thing that Ashik we do is we want to also evangelize and support creators. And for that, we created two platforms. One is the Artist Accelerator. It's a music-focused program that essentially helps emerging artists accelerate their digital careers. Because we know that the digital world, and particularly Web3, can sometimes be difficult to navigate. So we kind of offer them access and education, and we also help them build communities. So how to mint an NFT, how to get traction with your NFT. The other is the Gamer Academy. And the Gamer Academy is a program where each year 10 gamers, and when I say gamers, I don't just mean streamers or people who play games per se and are very good at it. They could be shoutcasters, they could be people interested in the business of gaming. We again offer them access, education. We work with G2, which is one of the leading esports organizations in the world. And again, if you want to start a gaming company, let's take you to the G2 headquarters and get you to talk to the best in the business, the best in the industry, the best minds. That's what we do with creators.
Lovely. I mean, one of my key takeout is good to know that NFTs are still a thing, at least within Mastercard. And so you mentioned a lot about evangelizing creators in the second bit. And one of the key things, at least when we speak to creators at WARC or when we interview creators, the key thing that they always complain about is autonomy. Because sometimes brands tend to control them a bit too much and they lose their own essence, and followers can very clearly know that, oh, this is some form of a sponsored content and whatnot. How much autonomy does Mastercard give their creators when you work with them?
Yeah. Our job is to give creators a very clear brief and tell them why we are partnering with them. That's what any brand should do, right? But right after that, we have to get out of their way, because otherwise it would defeat the very purpose of working with creators. So we allow them to unleash their creativity. Of course, there are brand guardrails that need to be adhered to, but beyond that, we don't intervene.
And how do you find this balance, right? You mentioned a few brand guardrails, like, is it a tone of voice? Is it just color schemes? Is there topics that you ask them to steer away from? How in-depth is this briefing with creators?
Basics such as brand tone of voice, brand colors, yes, those are important. Logo placement, not too much, but wherever it needs to appear. And really, that is not something that we, again, harp upon at all, because we want the content to be as engaging as possible. But there are cultural sensitivities to be careful of. Not to say creators are not aware of this, but sometimes I think that's important. We operate in the realm of financial services, and again, there are certain things that we all need to be mindful of. It's a much longer conversation, not for the 15 minutes we have, but I think that's about it. Creatively speaking, when it comes to storytelling, and Lynette again spoke extensively about that, we don't want to intervene in that at all.
I mean, I can attest to that, right? I mean, we work with Mastercard quite closely, and we're just coming off a report with them, and I love it that Mastercard's not one of those clients that say, make the logo bigger. That used to be something that we always kept hearing at agencies. Okay, so on the topic of, still on creators, of course, how do you measure success? Because I think that's one thing that marketers in the room always struggle with. How do you measure success when it comes to creator campaigns or working with creators per se?
So audience engagement is obviously a big one, because that's why we're there. Maybe let me give you an example to make this more tangible. So when we did a cross-border campaign, it was a pan-ASEAN cross-border campaign. Then we worked with certain TikTok creators, but also Instagram creators. And what we wanted was for people to be aware of the priceless experiences that were relevant for that corridor. So for example, let's say Singapore to Thailand, right? So experiences in Thailand as well as experiences in Singapore. And where are these experiences being hosted? They're on prices.com. So awareness, and then eventually the action really being consumers or Mastercard users going to prices.com and availing of these experiences. Again, it's an online marketplace, and in some markets you can check out on these experiences as well. So the moment you start to see the traffic build up, that is obviously attributable to the marketing tools that we are using, and a very, very important tool being, or asset being our creators. Essentially, that's what it is.
I think that's very nice, right? Because I think a lot of brands are very caught up on immediate ROI or ROAS. Like, if I spend X dollars to creators, I must expect, this many dollars back in return. I think it's nice that you mentioned that it's a bit more upper funnel as well. And it's not really all about just purely dollar value, or did I get that wrong?
Yeah, and again, Ashik, I think this really goes back to the most fundamental principle of marketing, which is the long and short of it, right? And I'm talking about Peter Bennett and Peter and Les, essentially, who wrote about marketing effectiveness, and it's a Bible, and I don't need to tell you about that. Over a period of time, when you work with creators, as much as when you work with, say, brand ambassadors that we work with in the realm of sponsorships, what you start to see is the brand benefit and the business benefit. And sometimes it can be difficult to delineate the two. And I don't think you need to do that. I think the important thing is consistency. So going back to your point about creators, yes, it may be a bit more upper funnel, though when it comes to the other side of the business, which is redemption of offers, that's a direct benefit that you see in any case, right? But the two just have to tango with each other. And I think you should never be in a hurry to, oh my God, like I've started an activation today, in 24 hours, did you get me 1 million hits or not? I think that's unfair on the creator, and that's not right for the business as well.
I think that's a very good answer. For those of you who are non-geeks like me and Kaveri, Peter Thiel and Les Binet are just two very intelligent folks who came up with the 60-40 split, and they said that marketing is all about long-term brand building while driving short-term sales effect. And I think I love the fact that Kaveri mentioned that you can use creators for both of it. When it comes to promos, discounts, etc., there's a short-term uplift, but in the long run, they essentially become kind of an ambassador for your brand as well. On that note, usually brands have a preference when it comes to, as much as they say that everything is important, they do have a preference for either some form of partnership, sponsorship, or just purely creator marketing or influencer marketing. At Mastercard, or in your very intelligent opinion, Kaveri, how does creator marketing or creator campaigns work when it's compared to sponsorships and partnerships? Do you necessarily have a preference for creators or not really?
No, and I think they're not mutually exclusive, first of all. So I'll answer this in two ways. We can work with creators when we activate our sponsorships, because creators can give us the personal connection, the local level engagement, the scale engagement that we need. So think about working with creators when we go to Australia Open or UEFA Champions League, again, across various passion points. So whilst both these sponsorships tap into the sport or sporting passion point, what happens around them is so much more, right? There's culinary, there's music, there is arts and culture. So when we bring our customers and consumers together, we can work with creators to then tap into the other passion points. I think that's one thing. The other really is, if you really ask me to sort of delineate the two and say which one is more impactful, I would not compare the two. I think sponsorships gives you broad visibility, it gives you stature, and we work with class-leading global sponsorships, local as well, but that's what it gives you, right? So cricket in India last year, the Vietnam food festival that we do called Flavors Festival each year. Again, you're talking about massive scale, whereas creators give you lesser scale compared to these sponsorships, but definitely what they can offer is that personal connection, that deeper engagement, right? Because a lot of these creators can also be what we call micro-influencers. They don't have to have millions of followers, but they must have engaged followers who look forward to their storytelling, who look forward to their content.
I love how you mentioned it's all about the deeper engagement when it comes to creators as well. Brilliant. I see that we are slowly running out of time. What is one piece of advice that you'd give to people in the room who are looking forward to working with creators who probably have not deployed it yet or probably in the beginning of their journey to work with creators? Is there any nuggets of wisdom or advice that you would leave them with?
Yeah, no pressure. What I'd say is the reason you go to creators is because, or the reason brands go to creators is because you love the authentic storytelling that they do. And it's that authentic nature of the storytelling and the narrative that they have the audience. So when you work with them, make sure that you allow them to be true to that narrative, right? And don't sully it by retrofitting what you believe as a marketer needs to be done. Back to your point about autonomy. So give them the autonomy, of course, again, very much within brand guardrails and cultural guardrails and legal guardrails in some markets, depending on which industry you come from, but let them do what they do best.
So you heard it from the expert herself. Thanks so much, Kaveri, for your time.